Hey guys, it's Mel
And Ellie.
here at Couttsier's, and we are going to share with you some tips for taking care of your patio pots and your hanging baskets this summer. Once these leave the greenhouse, it's all up to you. So we're going to help you out and give you some tips, and basically it's three things: water, fertilizer, and deadheading and pruning.
All right, so step number one is watering. A good rule of thumb is to check every single day. You can tell by how heavy it is by either lifting and see, ooh, it's a little bit heavy, it probably doesn't need to be watered. If it's feeling light, then you might want to give it a drink. And the same goes for your patio pots. You can kind of tip it and see if it feels heavy, you don't need to give it a drink, but if it isn't heavy, it probably needs a drink. And even if it has rained recently, a good rule of thumb is to check your soil to see if it's damp. You can do that by taking your finger and kind of sticking it in the soil. If it feels damp, it probably doesn't need water, but if it is dry, you do need to give it a drink. And when it rains, the water will kind of go on the leaves and not necessarily get down to the soil, so even if it rains, not an excuse to not water. But there are some plants like begonias that like to dry out, and so it's a good rule of thumb to let these guys dry out a little bit more than regular plants because they don't need quite as much water.
Another thing to keep in mind, if you've been a little neglectful with watering and you go to water and your water runs right out the bottom of your hanging basket, you probably need to check, because what can happen is that soil can shrink and then the water just goes around the outside and out the bottom. And if that happens, you need to just give several short waterings until that soil absorbs the water again, and then water as usual. The second thing, and I think the thing many people don't realize, is that your plants need fertilizer or food to keep blooming. These plants are heavy bloomers and they need food to do that. These containers are really small, so the soil does not hold enough nutrients for them. So you do need to supplement with a water-soluble fertilizer. We like the water-soluble because that can go directly to the roots. If you use a time-released on top, it takes a long time for that to get down to the roots, but the water-soluble is immediately available for those roots. So read your directions, whatever it says on the package. This one is a scoop per gallon, so I will do 2 scoops into this. It's about a 2-gallon watering can. Put the fertilizer in first, and then when you put the water in with the hose, it'll mix it up so you'll be all set to go. And then pick one day a week. I do it Sundays, but we call Fertilizer Fridays is a good day to do it too. And once a week, give those patio pots and hanging baskets a watering with your fertilizer water. So the third step in taking care of your hanging baskets and patio pots is grabbing a scissors and pruning or deadheading some of your plants. And when I say deadheading, it doesn't mean that you have to pull all these little blooms off your petunia basket. These petunias nowadays are self-cleaning. They don't need to be deadheaded in order to keep blooming. They will just dry up and fall off, so you don't need to do that. But they will benefit from a good trim. This is a good time of year to do it. And then again, later in the season, it makes them thicker and fuller and promotes new growth. So you can just grab your scissors. See, these are hanging down low here, and we can just give them a trim. Sure, you're gonna lose some blooms, but in the end, you're gonna have a thicker, fuller plant, and it's gonna look much nicer. You may have taken home one of these great petunia baskets and you've been watering and fertilizing, so it's going to be huge. But you can see it's getting a little scraggly at the bottom, so we're going to give it a trim, and it's going to have a whole new outlook on life, and it's going to grow a lot more, and it's going to look fantastic. So don't be afraid, you're going to lose some blooms, but we're just going to go ahead and chop away. You're going to lose some stuff, but you'll see in the end how much nicer this basket's going to look. You can even lift it up a little bit, trim some of this stuff off. Some of it's turning a little yellow, so we'll just cut all that out. Spin it around. And you can see already it's looking fuller, rounder, and nicer. And it's going to look great for the rest of the season. So that's it. If you remember those things, water,
Fertilizer,
and deadheading and pruning, your plants will look great all summer long.
and if you need more fertilizer or some advice or maybe some new plants, stop in and we'd love to see you. Have a great summer.